Jerry Agar and Toronto's breaking news, traffic and weather. NEWSTALK 1010.
Thanks for being along. I appreciate it. I want to follow up on a story I talked about yesterday, took a few calls on it, and then it occurred to me, and it should have earlier, that maybe I should talk to Katie Zapiri about this. Here's the deal. I was told by someone I know who wanted the name kept out of it because, kids go to the school. So that's the deal. Fancy Private School held a special day sponsored by I'm a Girl. The day featured a slate of incredibly empowering female speakers and concluded with a bake sale. Only the girls were allowed to hear the speakers. The boys had a different program, and at the closing, they had a bake sale where both the boys and girls could be there, but the boys had to pay 15% higher in order to, they said, drive home the gender pay gap. It was that second part drove me nuts, but I just wonder whether the whole thing was a good idea. Katie Zapiri used to be a weekly panelist on the show for a while. She's the founder of Girl Talk Empowerment, motivational speaker, spoken across North America and talking about girls' empowerment. Joins me now. Katie, good to talk to you again.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing well. So let's take this in parts. First of all, for the school, which has both boys and girls, to bring in some empowering female speakers and keep the boys out of the room, is that a good idea?
I don't have a problem with this. So part of the work that I do as a speaker, I have a specific girl-focused program called Girl Talk Empowerment. And many times I'm invited into schools to go speak specifically to girls. And sometimes I'm invited in to speak to a co-ed audience. I think there's benefits to both of those options. Sometimes with just having a specific gender-focused group, you can get in depth about particular issues that are specific to that gender that maybe you can't as easily with a mixed group. And sometimes the criticism that we'll get from that is, what about the boys? Do the boys have something that they can do? And I always encourage yes. In fact, if schools ask me, do I have a male speaker in mind, I'll always try and recommend somebody because I think that's important. Not for the boys to feel like, well, why don't we get anything special, but so that there's something for them too. So this school did that. That is not the problem here. I think.
Well, we'll get to the problem in a moment. To the contest, the bake sale thing, because I want to ask you, Katie. All the guys will agree to stop listening. What are you telling the girls that the boys don't need to hear?
Well, I think it's just about addressing some of the concerns that each gender faces with their own gender. It's part of the reason why, the sex talk, people will split up the guys and the girls. It's just there's certain things that are maybe sensitive issues that you feel more comfortable discussing with your own gender. So when we're talking about particular self-esteem and body image issues related to girls and their development, that's different conversation. Not to say it's, better or worse than boys. It's just a different conversation that you can feel a lot more comfortable discussing in that kind of closed environment. All
right. But if you're bringing in speakers, is somebody who made the Olympics, is that what they're going to come in and speak about? Maybe the person who told me about this didn't talk about how they were talking about, how your body develops, which is a different conversation than you go, girl.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, there's benefits to both things. It depends. That's what I'd want to know here. Like, what is the content of what's being discussed? But I will say that from my own experience, just even going in and sharing stories about, the challenges of self-esteem specific to girls and what they're facing and confidence issues and, trying to be the most popular girl in school, like certain things will be shared in those classrooms that I don't think the girls would share if there were boys present. And I think it's a good thing that you offer something for girls to have that space and something for boys. But yes, general talks about leadership, a you go person speech can be for both genders.
All right. Do you think that it's easier for a school to put on a girls-only event than if they put on a boys-only event, that people would then react negatively to that?
I think there's always that fear, but I'm telling you from experience, it happens even with me doing girls events. That doesn't always have the best response. And I think it's because people don't know, what our approach is here. This isn't about taking girls in a private room and making them feel like, you've been treated so badly and all these things. No, like we're just addressing some specific concerns and obstacles and barriers that are unique to girls. And we're just kind of encouraging them in a space where they feel a little bit more comfortable to share things that they might not otherwise feel comfortable to share. Sometimes these are stories kind of following the whole Me Too campaign where girls will talk about different experiences of harassment or things that they've experienced, or even in different relationships, especially in high schools. I hear about that a lot. So it's just providing that different space. And I think sometimes people hear, oh, you're just working with girls, and they can get the wrong idea about what the bigger picture is. It's not about girls being better than boys, deserving more than boys. It's just addressing concerns in a gender-focused environment.
Katie Zapiri is with me, founder of Girl Talk Empowerment, motivational speaker. That's true. And if you said it's not bringing the girls together and talking about, we're victims and what's wrong with boys, I agree with that. But I wonder how much they stayed away from that when the follow-up event was a bake sale where prices were 15% higher for boys to drive home the gender pay gap, which statistically you can demonstrate is not the issue that too many people say it is.
This is infuriating. This part is the part that gets me here. Charging boys 15% more at a bake sale? What do people think is going to be accomplished by doing this? And this is part of the reason why, with the work that I do, I feel like sometimes people will prejudge the work that I do based on stories like this. The pay gap is such a complex issue. Just saying that women earn 77 cents for every dollar a man earns, that is a very simplified statement to make. It's essentially taking the difference, the average earnings of all men and women working full time, and it doesn't take into account so many different variables, occupations, positions, education. There's so much to that is not taken into consideration. So that's my first point on that. But then even a step further, these are kids. These are kids. And this is not how, even if you're claiming that there is this 70 cents on the dollar for every dollar a man earns. This doesn't work in this environment. And girls are going to grow up with this kind of experiment thinking that they're victims and that they deserve a handout. And boys are going to go home and feel like they're being punished for being a boy. And to me, that is wrong.
Well, yeah. I think it starts an argument between the boys and the girls, maybe infuriates the girls when they're told this. And boys, by the way, the boys at the school, if there's any issue, are not responsible for it. They're not hiring people. They're not paying people. Talking about equality and equity is all a good thing, but it's got to be done, you'd think, mostly in an educational institution. They would understand that they need to talk about the complexities of an issue, not just some top-line, badly presented statistic.
Exactly. And you know me, Jerry, I'm really not for victimhood in any circumstance. I really believe that people, and I believe in empowerment and people rising up out of circumstances or challenges to go realize their potential. And I kind of paraphrasing a very famous quote, ask not what the world can do for you, but what you can do for the world. What are you going to contribute? And I think that's the kind of approach that we want to be teaching our young people. We want to be empowering students, male and female, to rise to their full potential. And if we really want to address, some of the challenges, because while I'm saying the general pay gap is wrong, are there some real problems that we need to face and that do separate women? Sure there are. But I think a better way of handling this is to talk about, promoting career knowledge, teaching boys and girls about STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, teaching them about trades, getting them empowered in this area of their life. That's a much better solution than charging 15% more for boys at a bake sale.
For a muffin. Katie Zapiri, girltalkempowerment.com. Great to talk to you again. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jerry.